If you are here to present on an item today and have a presentation, please go to the podium to ensure that your presentation has been received. Please take your seats. The meeting is about to begin. Remember to speak into the microphone, as this meeting is being recorded for public record. Please stand by. We are going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning and welcome to the December 10th meeting of the Design Review Board of the City of Miami Beach. We are waiting for one more board member to arrive, and another board member is out sick. So we are going to begin. Today we have a short agenda, so we should get through the items pretty quickly. Rogelio, do you want to start?
Sure, I will start off with taking attendance. And I will note for the record that Mr. Sheldon is absent. And Ms. Meyer is on her way. She should be here within the next 10 to 15 minutes. So we currently have 4 members present, so we have a quorum. And then I guess City Attorney's updates.
Sure. No updates. So I'm just going to do the introduction and tell those folks that want to attend virtually how to do so, and remind everyone of the notice regarding lobbyist registration. So again, good morning all. Today's meeting of the Design Review Board has been scheduled in a hybrid format with a quorum of the board physically present in the commission chambers at Miami Beach City Hall, and applicant staff, members of the public appearing either in person or virtually via the Zoom platform webinar. Those wishing to participate in today's meeting via Zoom may dial 888-475-4499, which is a toll-free number, and enter the webinar ID, which is 822-7394-1924, or log into the Zoom app and enter the webinar ID, which again is 822-7394-1924. Any individual wishing to speak on an item must click the raise hand icon if they are using the Zoom app, or dial *9 if they are participating by phone. Before I swear in those that are testifying today that are physically present in chambers, I'm going to read into the record the city's notice regarding lobbyist registration. If you are appearing on behalf of a business, a corporation, or another person, you will need to register as a lobbyist with the clerk's office. If you haven't registered yet, you should register before you speak to the board. You do not have to register as a lobbyist if you are speaking only on your behalf and not any other party, or if you are testifying as an expert witness providing only scientific, technical, or other specialized information or testimony in this public meeting, or if you are appearing as a representative of a neighborhood association without any compensation or reimbursement for your appearance to express support of or opposition to any item. Expert witnesses and representatives of neighborhood associations shall, prior to appearing, disclose in writing to the city clerk their name, address, and the principal on whose behalf they are communicating. If you are an architect, attorney, or an employee representing an applicant or an objector, you must register as a lobbyist. These rules apply whether you are appearing in favor of or against an item, or encouraging or arguing against its passage, defeat, modification, or continuance. Bless you. For those that are going to be testifying today at this time, if you could please stand so I can swear you in. Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll be giving in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay. And for those members, presenters or members of the public appearing virtually, I'll swear you in one at a time. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. We are now going to approve the minutes from the past meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I see there are requests for continuances.
Yes, we have two requests for continuances. The first is DRB 24-1038. That's 1265 North Biscayne Point Road. The applicant requests that the item be continued to the January 16th meeting.
Can someone make a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue.
Thank you. I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Diffenderfer, second by Ms. Lewin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, and then the next item that's being requested to be continued is DRB 24-1040. That's 1500 Bay Road. And the applicant, again, is also requesting that it be continued to January 16th.
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Diffenderfer, second by Ms. Butakavoli. Hey, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, let's now move on to our previously continued applications, starting with DRB 24-1031, 4701 North Meridian Avenue, UPH 21. The applicant's here?
Good morning. Before we start, I just need to ask if any board member has any ex parte communications that they've received.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Before that, this application has been filed requesting design review approval for the installation of windows to enclose an existing covered exterior courtyard at the penthouse level of this building.
Okay, so this is the existing penthouse residential unit that's located on the west side of the top floor of the Ritz-Carlton residence. This is the former Miami Heart Institute building that was converted into a residential building. The unit is currently divided into two interior sections, and there's a covered exterior courtyard that's existing that the applicant wishes to improve the utilization of that area. The applicant has indicated that there are wind tunnels and that the area's not very comfortable to be in, so the applicant is simply proposing to enclose that space. They're going to be using similar window systems as are used in the rest of the building, so it shouldn't have any sort of a negative visual impact. And that's basically the proposal. And staff does recommend that the application be approved, subject to the conditions in the attached order.
Thank you very much. Feel free to bring in your presentation.
Yeah, I don't know if we have the presentation.
Can the presentation be uploaded for this item?
We were supposed to be on the last one, that's what I think, we got switched.
Oh, they brought it, because it was continued from last month and not re-uploaded again.
While we wait for the presentation, just a quick question. Did you all have a letter from your association president of the Ritz-Carlton residences approving or recommending this change?
Yes, I believe so,
Okay.
yes. I have the floor plans here, I don't know if we want to wait for the presentation, I mean, I could just show it if that's okay, or we want to wait.
I wonder too, we also have the architectural plans that can be loaded, or is that too long?
Should be able to load that.
I mean, I could start if you want. I'm gonna show it here, I don't know if this is small. So basically, as Rogelio was saying, the penthouse at the Ritz-Carlton PH 21 is divided into two areas. This is the kitchen area, and this is where the living room and the main areas are. So this right now is currently covered. When it first was designed, in my opinion, it was badly designed because you have this exterior courtyard, which it's beautiful, but at the same time, it poses a lot of challenges for the client. This is the penthouse, there's a lot of wind, there's a lot of draft, so it's very uncomfortable to be in here. One, it creates a wind tunnel, it's always windy. Two is, let's say you're in your room and you want to go to the kitchen, you have to go from an interior to an exterior space. The reason for the glazing is not to enclose it and this to be a living area, it's just for the wind tunnel effect not to happen and to use this exterior area comfortably. Now, every time we're adding or we're doing something to the exterior of the building, we come into if it's gonna affect the exterior of the building. We made we walked around, from street level to 3 blocks, 2 blocks away, we make all the studies. What happens is that the building is stepped, so because of the stepping, you don't see it as much. And the way it's gonna be done is actually gonna follow the same pattern as the existing facade. The same glazing is gonna match. for the existing facade. So I'm gonna show you, I don't know if I could,
They did bring something up.
Yeah.
Is this, okay.
yeah. So as you can see, this is the unit, penthouse units 2021. So we took all these aerial shots for your street vantage points to see if you were to see the actual glazing, and this is the actual floor plan that I was showing you. The scope of work is just glazing that folds. That's basically it. And I'm going to show you. This is from Google Earth. The one on the left is the one without the glazing, the open tunnel, and then the one on the right is with the added storefront, which is basically follows the same pattern, it's the same glazing. That's the only scope of work here.
So, wait, can you point out, those two look really, oh, I see, on the right side. Okay, not by the red arrow. Okay, thank you.
And this one right here is currently open.
Oh, I see.
And I'm going to show you, we had some pictures here of the actual. I'm sorry, I'm going fast, but it's not in this one right here.
It looks like that's the only unit on the floor that has this
Yes, yeah, it's
feature.
the only one. I mean, it's nice, but it's very uncomfortable to be up there with all the winds and all the draft.
So right now, where you have the black arrow, where you pointed to before when our chair asked the previous question, that currently is opened as reflected on the left side of the screen. And what you're saying is to put in the glazing that would be similar and not the same as what is seen in other floors, as well as to the right
Correct.
or to the left of the area.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, I saw this last month and it seemed very straightforward and simple. Why did you guys continue it?
Oh, I think we ran out of time.
Is that the, no, like,
I think there was somebody had I think when I spoke to my client, it's very straightforward. I believe he was working on something with the actual building itself, getting the letter of approval,
Okay.
so that's why we had to.
Okay,
We just
that's-
wanted the building itself to know that we're doing this.
so nothing changed from the last presentation?
Doesn't.
Okay,
It's the same one, and it's very simple, so,
Yeah.
you know.
thanks.
And
I was
Ro-
here in the old presentation the whole time, so it's very simple.
Rogelio, the city has received a letter from the association president saying that they are in agreement.
I do not have a copy of that letter.
Do you all have a copy that
We
you?
should get you a copy, yes. Yeah, I believe we have it.
Okay. I think it's important to have that letter in hand for any kind of action taken by this board, because this building is owned by a group of people, not just one single person. As we require for other projects that are in a condominium, for example, or that are even single-family homes, we always, in that case, we just like to see that neighbors are in agreement. I think the project is, what you're trying to do is simple, it makes sense, but I don't live there, and so I cannot speak for the other residents that
Which-
do own.
Can I make a comment?
Oh, you know what? Let me, just as a point of order, are you done with your presentation?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think before we discuss, I should ask if there's any members of the public wishing to speak.
Can I be added as a presenter so I can see if the hands are raised? Thank you. We have no hands raised.
Okay, great. I'm going to close the public portion and open it up for the board to continue the discussion. Shauna?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I agree about the letter, but my understanding is that's a requirement to receive a building permit. So we could just, you know, say that if we get to the point where we want to approve and require that, they will have to have that before they get a building permit.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments? Do you know if they spoke to the neighbors yet, or?
They
you don't know?
did. We've been doing this, actually, we've been on this process for about almost a year, for a long time, because they did, this is such a, and I do a lot of HOA, I review a lot of plans for HOA, but, so this is such a small work that they did submit for building permit, right? They got the letter, and then when it was going through the building permits, they said, you gotta go, for this project, you gotta go through design review board. So we've already done the building permit, and some of it has already been approved, but they say, wait a minute, because you're adding something, it has to be approved now by the design review.
Something that's visible from the street,
Correct, yeah.
no matter how small.
No matter how small. So we
Right.
were surprised, but we went ahead and we did everything we had to do, and we're here, so yeah. But we will get the letter.
I'm surprised.
That's something we need to do, even if we.
Right. I mean, I think it seems like a sort of natural addition. I'm supportive of, you know, checked all the boxes, supportive of the proposal and understand the reasoning. So I don't know if anybody else has any other comments or any different?
I defer to you. I don't know that the building department will require the letter for the permit. It did not require it of me when I was doing something in a unit we have in another condo. But that was some time ago, so it may have changed. So I
Shauna just
agree.
mentioned that it did change.
Yeah, I don't know how often, but I personally feel this is very straightforward. It makes a lot of sense. But that it be contingent on that letter being on file from the association president. Or the vice president. I know her name is Witkoff, Mrs. Witkoff, and I can't remember the president's name.
It's Lauren, yeah.
David Krantz, I'm sorry, David Krantz.
I know both of them.
Okay. Raheli, can you speak to that? Do they have to get a building permit before, or?
I
or,
certainly can.
Yeah.
As the building department legal advisor, back when, about 3 building officials ago, that requirement was taken out of the building process and the intake reviews, but now it's been reinstated by Ana Salgado. Mashir kept it, and the current Vince Cejas still has it. So yes, as part of the initial intake, the building department intake will review for all the documents, and one of them will need to be the condo association approval. So it will fail that. So I guess from what I understand from the presenter, when they started their review process with that building permit application, it got flagged by planning. So it failed that review cycle so that they can come to DRB. So once the cycle reopens, if there are any additional comments, then they'll need to be addressed before the permit's actually issued.
Great. Thank you very much. If nobody has any other comment, do you want to make a motion? Move forward?
Make a motion that we approve the application for 4701 North Meridian Avenue, Penthouse 21.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Okay, and now we're moving on to item number 5, DRB 241043, 1015 Stillwater Drive.
This application is requesting modifications to a previously approved design review approval for the construction of a new 2-story residence with an understory and a variance for the height of the home. Specifically, the applicant is requesting additional height as is permissible per the land development regulations.
Okay, so this is an item that was heard last month. The board continued it to this month because there were concerns over the construction that was being undertaken. I believe some residents had some concerns that the setbacks were being encroached into. Since then, the applicant has provided an as-built survey and some photos of the construction site. They do substantiate that the home is being built pursuant to the setbacks. They did show some photos of some wooden structures that are being used as part of the construction process that are intended to be removed. So that may be where the concern stemmed from. But once those structures are removed after the construction is completed, the home will be following those setback lines. So with that, staff recommends that the application be approved, subject to the conditions in the attached draft order.
Thank you very much.
Before we begin, just any disclosures of any ex-party communications? None, then okay, I'll set the clock at 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rogelio. Good morning, members of the board. I am Denise Preschel from the architecture team. Here with me is the rest of the design team. We have ownership, the general contractor, to respond any questions you might have. We are, as Rogelio explained, we are discussing 1015 Stillwater. Just as a summary of what we discussed in our last hearing, this page shows exactly what we are requesting. On the left-hand side, you will see a section of the building that we had approved in the previous DRB that was held on November 2022. At that time, with that code in effect, we were allowed for a maximum height of 25 feet. In this occasion, we are requesting for an addition of 20 inches to the building height, which is in compliance with the current code for RS4 properties with understories. That would bring the building height to 26 feet 8 inches. And those additional 20 inches would be located specifically in the understory ceiling elevation. Within code requirements, we felt that the space currently as it was approved was really constrained, and we were concerned also with the space for the installations and for everything that goes within the plenum area. So we are raising just the minimum requirement to fall within code compliance. At the time of our previous presentation, we got some calls from the neighbors with some concerns of the construction progress and how everything was flowing along, and we didn't have all the information at that time. However, we did take all the site pictures. We prepared an elevation certificate, a survey, everything that was requested from your end and from the neighbors in order to clearly depict the situation and present it here today. And we're gonna show that right away. So this is the survey that was prepared showing the progress of the construction site. In the survey, you can see that all the front of the property has been cleared. We do have some formwork towards the back of the property. That's a formwork for the first floor slab. And the reason why we have that formwork is because we have a constrained, narrow lot, and the general contractor needed to clear up the space to have a proper staging area and to have the pour of the approved slab per permit. And he had all the rebar and all the material and formed the back area of the first floor slab. The intent was never to pour anything before we got approval from the DRB, and everything has been worked per the approved plans. For the shoring and the formwork and engineering shoring plans were prepared and submitted to the city for permits. The process has been completely transparent and again following what was approved, but we needed to have some clearance in the front of the property for staging and construction purposes. Here you will see a zoomed in area of that formwork. We are showing in red the outline of the first floor slab as the approved plans. We know we had some concerns in regards of encroachment, and we took these pictures from the top view so you can clearly see how the slab is being formed within the area of the approved plans, and we do have some plywood extensions that are there temporarily for purposes of circulation and storing material only. Those areas do not have any formwork or rebar that will be poured and will be removed after hopefully the pour can be performed. Also, we prepared the elevation certificate. Since the slab has not been poured yet, the surveyor was able to mark the top of the formboard. The top of the formboard is now at 15.75. And if you see in our section on the left-hand side, that matches exactly the location of the bottom of the slab that we were proposing. So again, this was in order to prepare and to be able to have the construction flowing while we were waiting for the approval of the DRB. In the next slides, I will show you some additional pictures so we can clearly see everything in the job site. We have some pictures of the front of the property with the formwork shown towards the back. And here we have views from the top. We understand that if you see it from the bottom, it might be misleading because it's hard to locate where are the outlines of the actual slab and the temporary plywood extensions, but hopefully these photographs help clearly depict those extensions that are temporary. Here you will see some storing of blocks and construction materials in those temporary extensions. We think that might have triggered the concern from the neighbors, and we completely understand, so we want to clarify the situation for everyone. Here are more additional pictures showing also the neighbor's house. Here you can see on the left-hand side how these plywood extensions are being used for storing the construction materials, and more angles. On the one on the right-hand side, you can see how it would be a concern looking at it from the bottom if you don't have the understanding of really seeing the top view and how the slab is going to be further to the interior, and there are no real encroachments in the actual formwork. So hopefully this information serves to clarify, and we can address, we understand our neighbors' concerns. We have been trying to address all their comments, and we have been fully transparent in the process, and we can facilitate any additional information. We are eager to get a response because it's in the critical time of construction, and we appreciate your help.
Thank you very much. That concludes your presentation?
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak?
We have Sikre with a hand raised.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
And,
So,
sir, before you start, sorry to interrupt, I need to swear you in.
sir,
Okay, so do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll be giving in the proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
Okay, and I'm going to set the clock for 2 minutes for you to address the board.
Okay, thank you. So in the November 5th, 2024 meeting, Ms. Meyer, who was not here, or doesn't seem to be here now, stated that if the developer had already built the tie beam or the formwork of the first floor structure based on the height that had not yet been approved, she would not be inclined to approve the variance because that indicated the builders had a disregard for the process. Further, she felt that a penalty of some sort in that case should be assessed if that were the case. Also, the board member, I don't know all the names, but I saw it was the female board member with the scarf. I think she's Latin. Also said, I reviewed the YouTube video of
Born in
the
Cuba.
November 5th meeting. Sorry. And she said that if the builders were not building per the approved plans, the project needed to be stopped, that any approval would be reversed, and that the project would be red tagged. And I believe that the chairperson, Sarah Nelson, also expressed concern with regards to the project not being built per the approved plans. As the photos in the presentation from the architect clearly show, what I said that the builder had already installed the rebar for the tie beams of the first floor and the slab for the terrace at the height that had not yet been approved or was permitted was true. According to the board members' testimony in the November 5th, 2024 meeting, the proposed variance should not be approved. The builder should be penalized and the project should be red tagged or stopped. The staff recommendation to approve the motion or the proposal never takes this into account. In addition to a disregard for the process, the general contractor also provided a sworn statement affidavit that was not dated, which states that due to logistical limitations on the site, it was necessary to form the first floor slab and relocate the rebar to that location as it was interfering with the garage slab pour at the front of the property. I think that, either the contractor doesn't care about perjuring himself, because, any affidavit in Florida needs to be sworn under oath, under penalty of perjury to be valid, or he wants the board to believe that he paid for the labor to form the tie beams and the slab for the terrace, rather than going ahead and moving the rebar to the back of the property, which is not photographed, probably on purpose, that has, clear space for the rebar to be relocated. I think no reasonable person could come to the conclusion that this contractor did not move forward with the first floor project at this height that was not permitted because they presumed that this approval would be rubber stamped.
Okay.
Hence, the builder has shown
I'm sorry, but you've run out of time. Or can you wrap it
sorry.
up, or you've said what you've said? You've made your main points.
No, I'll make, that's not the main point. The main point is that the surveyor, who is the subcontractor of the builder, doesn't provide the dimensions from the side property line to the actual tie beam under the terrace or there. So there's not information in the survey sufficient for the board to make a determination or to verify that the building is being built, per the plans. And this terrace being 16 feet and being right next to the property, sort of going past the side setback, which I don't understand how it is that the board provided approval for an encroachment of the side setback when there was no notice provided to either neighbor of this proposal. The October 2022 proposal for a variance was for the height of the building, not for encroachment into the side setback. And I'd request that, due to the builder's conduct and the lack of notice and the harm that it creates to the adjacent property, that this side setback variance be rescinded, and that the board require for some sort of a screen wall to be put on that terrace so that wherever the residence is in the future for the spec build, can view the bay, but doesn't have a balcony that is 3 feet from my property, 16 feet up in the air, which overlooks the pool area, completely depriving me of any privacy in my backyard.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I had more to say, but I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. We will definitely look into the matter. Are there any other people?
No other hands are raised.
Okay, I'm now going to close the public portion and open it up to the board for discussion. Rogelio, can you maybe provide us, maybe you can start out with some guidance there seems to be a big discrepancy between what the applicant is saying versus what the neighbor is saying. And is it even possible to go back to an approved project that was approved in 2022 and make any changes? Or, once it's approved, it's approved.
I think the changes, it's approved. If there's something that's incorrect, that'll be caught at the time of inspection. What we saw in the survey shows that there are setbacks of 10 feet, 10.54 feet, 11.52 feet on one side.
Side setbacks, right?
Side setbacks.
If I can
Seven.
clarify, it adds to the point. So the side setbacks are 7.5 as per requirement, right? So at the time of the November 2022 board, we didn't have any variances or any variation request on the side setbacks because we are complying with a 30% overhang. And it's just a concrete eyebrow, and it doesn't pass the 30%, so we didn't have to request any variance on that end. The only thing that we requested was for the additional foot for the understory.
So what, just to be clear, that the design is within the
Yes.
requirements, that there was no.
No, because it's
Okay.
within that 30% allowance
Right,
of
it's what's
encroachment.
allowed by
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you are allowed certain elements that are allowed to encroach into a required yard. So those are architectural projections, eyebrows, things of that nature are allowed to go further into a setback.
Which is probably one of the reasons why it was approved to begin with, because it
Yes,
did follow all the
exactly.
regulations. Okay. And then what about the survey? I mean, does it,
The survey shows the encroachment. It shows the side setbacks, I mean, what I'm reading.
It's hard to read. I mean, we did the outline for that purpose because we didn't want to have this confusion. We would be glad to present, like we can meet with staff and actually do the overlay with our CAD files and the survey because we have no problem in showing that we are really not doing any encroachment over that 30%. I'm 100% sure. So we really thought, honestly, that what was misleading was those temporary plywood extensions, and we thought, okay, this might be a real concern, but not the 30% slab edge that we're fully compliant, and we can do a follow-up meeting without a problem and overlay it if Rogelio wants to see it.
Rogelio, how about the rebar that the neighbor is mentioning on the terrace? Is that a concern? Is that within the boundaries of where it needs to be, taking into account the setbacks?
From what I see, the survey shows the edge, the construction edge, so that appears to be mostly within the setback. Right now, it's hard, it's got a lot of wood, it's difficult to tell you the exact measurement just by going out there to the site and seeing it. So it looks like it's gonna be compliant once all the construction works are removed. So I don't have any major concerns with it now. Once it's done, our inspectors go out there, and if they determine that it's not complying with the required setbacks, they're gonna have to fix it, or else we're not gonna sign off
And that
on their
would be,
certificate of occupancy.
that would be part of the structural inspection
As
when it
well.
is called for. And if it doesn't comply, then they either remove it or come back.
And seek an after-the-fact variance with three
Right.
times the fees.
and I'm assuming too that as part of the file, there will be this record of, make sure to check this, there were some neighbor concerns. Okay.
Can I respond to, yeah, so this is Shauna Meyer. I am here, and I did make comments last month, and I don't remember them verbatim, but I was actually thinking about those comments while you were presenting. And first, I want to say that I do appreciate the very thorough reapplication and the time to resubmit. You know, we have to sit up here and take you at face value as a professional, and that you're being, you know, honest and straightforward. And so that's how I'm taking the information. And I know how difficult it is at this time in the process to sort of create documents like this. To me, it seems thorough. I do remember saying that, you know, if the beams were already poured, or, you know, if things were already constructed at a level and you weren't sort of being honest with us that things were in place, that would be frustrating, right? From what we're seeing today, I don't see evidence of that. And I mean, I personally don't think it's our role to understand, you know, a chronological timeline of every step. Like, we have to, again, take you at face value, your, you know, professional word, what you're saying. So I just want to say that I know it is a challenge, you know, and many sites have 5-foot side yard setbacks, and you can encroach, you know, 50% or 3 feet or, you know, whatever, and that gets really close. And then, you know, buildings are tall, but that's sort of a resultant condition of living in an urban environment. So
Thank you.
The minutes from our last meeting reflect that the board requested that the applicant provide as-built survey, and that the item be continued for those surveys to be provided, which you have provided and presented to the planning department. So that being the case, for me, you've complied, and it shows that you are within the required setbacks, sides, back and front, and complying with the building plans that were permitted. Then again, if something happens during construction going forward and it does not comply with your permitted plans, then action will be taken by the city and by the owner or contractor. I'm ready to make a motion. I don't know if the rest of the members have comments.
No, I mean, we hit on the concerns of the neighbor, right? That was what you spoke to, is the inconsistency, so no.
Go for it.
Oh, okay, so I make a motion that we approve the variance for the height of the home at 1015 Stillwater Drive.
It's technically not a variance, it would be a waiver.
Okay.
We have a motion to approve by Ms. Butakavalli. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Meyer. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No, motion passes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Great. Moving on to item number 6, DRB 24-1051, 310 South Coconut Lane.
This application is requesting design review approval for a two-story residence with an understory, including one or more waivers, to replace an existing residence.
Okay, so this is the last of the continued items. The item was continued last month. I believe we ran out of time on this one. There may have been some preliminary discussion on the proposal. So the applicant, so I guess I'll give the whole presentation. So this is a single-family home located at 310 South Coconut Lane. It is an understory home. The design of the home is of a contemporary style, and it has this half-cylindrical volume on the front elevation that is clad with limestone and accented with some landscaping. Staff did have some concerns with the mass of the front limestone elevation, and we did recommend that those openings be increased in size to reduce the mass of the structure and reduce the imposing nature of that structure. Since the last meeting, the applicant did submit an update a few weeks ago and complied with those concerns. So the applicant did reduce the height of the building from 28 feet 6 inches to 28 feet. That was a recommendation that we had. That's consistent with what a code amendment that's moving forward for the RS4 district. And then the applicant also reduced the volumes of the beams on the front limestone clad elevation to reduce the mass of the structure, so that it makes it less imposing in nature. It's more open, greater visibility, and staff is supportive of the changes that were made. The applicant is also requesting a waiver for the open space requirement on two-story side elevations that exceed 60 feet in length. The elevation is 68 feet 4 inches. They are exceeding that by 9 feet 2.5 inches. The elevation does have areas that are opening and landscaping. And it does have that open space, but it does have a beam that encroaches into that open space, so therefore it technically does not comply with the code requirement, but it does comply with the intent. It does provide movement on that facade. You don't have a flat, a continuous facade, so it does comply with the intent of that open space requirement. So staff is supportive of the waiver. And with that, staff recommends that the application be approved, subject to the conditions in the attached draft order.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and before we begin, just my ex-party question, any disclosures? No, okay, thank you. I'll set the clock at 10 minutes, sir.
Good morning, Jose Sanchez, Praxis Architecture. I would expand on what Rogelio just mentioned, but briefly, if we may, the owner would like to speak to the board. He's here, Mr. Pierre D'Agostini, if that's possible. Yes.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning to the city team of the City of Miami Beach, and good morning to the board members. Just a quick words, because I don't want to take too much valuable time away from the architect that I think is very talented. I bought this property more than 25 years ago, and I've been, I think, saving every penny for the day in which I will have the pleasure and the honor to be sitting here to present what, if God willing, will be another 25 years in this location. I have asked the architect to be creative, taking into consideration the environment, but at the same time respect strictly the rules and the regulations so they could approve. I have also reached out to all my neighbors, which I know quite well because I used to be the president for 5 years of the Star, Palm, and Hibiscus Homeowner Association. They're all in favor. And when you look at the project plan that I'm going to let the architect talk in details and what the house is, I think everybody in the community is delighted because it's going to be a great improvement for the community. So I want to thank you for your time and for this opportunity.
Thank you, and I'll go directly into the comments. If the presentation could be uploaded, please. Okay, this is just to refresh the location on the west end of Palm, facing downtown Miami, and this is the front facade with the materials. We could come back to this if there are questions. And these volumetric views from the top were requested previously to understand the volumes of the house. And here you can see on the bottom left, that's where we were asking for a waiver without, there was a decorative beam tying together both volumes that are right in the setback. That was actually removed when we had time to review the plans, and it was removed. We considered it was not absolutely necessary, so that's not a waiver requested now. On the bottom right, you can see the main courtyard and the geometry of the project, with basically one primary volume modified and the rest is orthogonal geometry. So we think it's a response to the owner's brief to create a project with character and personality, but not with a multiplicity of curves or anything that's excessive. Here on the next one, you could see the volumes, but seen at eye level. And you could see on the bottom left, the volumes that are at the first floor level are only 30, I think it's 30 feet in length. The volume that's closest to the water side, it's right on the left, on the second floor, and then on the front, everything is recessed. So there's only 30 feet right at the setback of the second level. I mean, understanding it's for an understory house. And there are some projections, which is a wall and a semicircular stair projecting into the setback. But in reality, you could do by code 60 feet of two-story wall with articulation, of course, but we think that these setbacks have an even more impacting effect on the articulation or on the perception of the massing of the volumes for the neighbors. And on the other side, on the north side, it's basically a 45 feet length of two-story wall, and then there's a 1 or 1.5 story entry volume. But again, in comparison with 60 feet of length for 2 stories, we think that we have done a concerted effort to create enough articulation within the constraints. It's a narrow lot, 60 feet in width, and we could not create 4 front facades, so to speak. That's the entrance volume with the semicircular wall, which will have planters and hanging vegetation. Are some of the views of what the owners will experience, basically in the entry courtyard. across the understory, and you could see the Miami skyline at the end. And it's on top, a view towards the entry and the courtyard, and a view of the rear pool. And these are the openings in the curvilinear wall. You know, our first comment during the submittal process. The one on top is the first one that we submit, and then at the bottom is the second one. I think we should not be adding too many openings because it just kind of dilutes the idea of the solidity of the volume. So I think that I would even have probably less, but I think that should comply. And these are the technical plans indicating the waiver removal. I mean, the fact that the waiver is not required, right? And that's basically it. That concludes the presentation. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak?
I see no hands raised.
Okay, great. I'm closing the public portion, opening this up to the board for discussion. Who would like to begin? Okay.
Congratulations, Pierre. And thank you. I think the improvements you made, it's such a vast difference from the openings. It looks so much more inviting and less fortress-like now, the opening of the stairs and the larger openings in the wall. Just great changes. It's not that huge, but it really makes a big difference. So thank you.
Can you show us on your plans that you had up on the screen earlier where the two variances are that you are requesting,
yes, sure.
or waivers? And again, I ditto what was just said. It is a beautiful plan and much improvement.
Thank you. Here in the site plan, you can see at the bottom, there was a beam on the south side connecting both volumes, the one on the west and the one on the east. It was just a decorative beam, so it looks as if it's one element. But we felt that it was not necessary, and that was removed along with an eyebrow, so there are no waivers requested there. It'll be more open.
So at this point, there are no waivers being requested?
No
It's just the
waivers.
approval for the understory?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
That's one, and then the second one, it's here on the top. We have a circular plane that, and the pool was right into that plane, if you can see it on the top. Because just because it's the aesthetics, because it looks good, the curve on the water, but then the pool could not pass the 5-foot requirement for green area under the house. So we just reduced the size of the pool. I mean, it would have looked better the other way, but there is no mechanism in the code to request this waiver, we were told, so it will be like that with a planter. So we reduce the size of the pool or the pond in that area, yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Shauna, do you have any comments on the design, or?
Yeah, I was just trying to make sure I understood everything. I do want to say congrats. It's good to see something that has movement, that is thoughtful. It seems to be responsive to the spaces, you know, that you and your client are trying to curate. I was just reviewing the landscape plan, and you know, my only suggestion as you move forward is when you have a site like this, and you know, so much of the house is about looking out, you know, across the water and to the city, but you have such an opportunity to really create, you know, engage the landscape and bring it in. And you do have a landscape plan, and there's some thought in there, but I think it could be integrated so much more into the spaces of the house that you're creating, or the spaces that you're going to be just occupying at the different levels, really. But I appreciate, you know, sort of the breath of fresh air with the different approach to the design, and I agree the openings in the otherwise large monolithic, you know, curved wall, I think, you know, provide opportunity for some of that landscape. My other comment, which is not particular to you, but again, you know, this is one of the most prestigious sites in the city. You know, you're adding a lot to the community and to this island there is oolite. I don't understand exactly what the louvers over the windows are made out of. I'm assuming just steel, but so much of it is still just painted stucco. And especially when we look at the north elevation, I just, you know, as a city and a culture, I feel like we could embrace materiality so much more. So that's just my my plea to you guys.
Thank you. Yes, the landscaping, and perhaps we have to look into it with more detail, but the idea is that it's kind of growing into the wall, and it's very integrated, and it feels very tropical, so we will work on that. The material for the louvers, I think perhaps it's not specified, but it should be aluminum with wood simulation. Nowadays, you can get a very good quality product and can withstand the test of time and the weathering.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything different, but I mean, I was just comparing against the November presentation, and the changes, while subtle, really do, I think, help. And thank you for, I think one of the comments I had last time was to just see some other perspectives from the curved angle, and that was helpful too to understand from that. So thank you for including those as well.
I also thank you for being thoughtful about the improvements, and I think it's always a good move if you can avoid a waiver or a variance to do it. So that just made things a little bit easier. I also really like it. There's so many very boxy home designs that we see, and it's really nice when, you know, an architect is able to incorporate a curve in a way to offset that boxiness. My comment sort of piggybacks a little bit on one of Shauna's comments about sort of intentionality and the overall composition. And I think that there's certainly, when I saw the first version, I was very concerned with that initial curving screen. And I think that you've lightened it up a little bit. But my concern with it really was more, and I want to bring up a picture that shows, that doesn't have the landscaping, but just sort of shows, maybe if you could bring up slide 23.
Okay.
In the presentation.
What is it, 23? Is it
it's one of the 3D view? Volumes. No, it's
the
the
3D volumes,
one.
yes.
Yeah, that sort of shows it. My concern with the punch outs is, you know, I think what I would love to see, and I think, again, it just takes a little bit of tweaking. I want to feel like that initial structure or screen, that there's a rhythm to it. Right now, it has a feel where it's almost like these volumes are just punched out almost arbitrarily. And I think that it is an interesting design feature. I should also say too, you know, I went and I looked at the site, and it doesn't really show it very well in the photos and the translation, but this is a very compact streetscape. There's no sidewalks on either side. The road can barely hold, you know, 2 cars passing, and the properties are very, very close to one another. So this building is definitely going to have a presence, which, you know, it's going to have. But because of that, I really want it. So whereas with maybe a property that was deeper, if this curved structure at the very front wouldn't have so much of an impact, but in this context, it really will. And so I want to make sure that it is done with, that it contributes to the rhythm and of the overall structure, and that all the parts are integrated in a harmonious way. And again, I think it just takes a little bit of maybe aligning, you know, some of the squares with one another. I don't know if there was any intention. You know, I think it was helpful. I like how you opened up the area next to or around the stairwell, and also that window adjacent to it. You made it bigger, and I think that was nice. But I think there still needs to be a little bit of finessing for the front screening, so it doesn't seem like, you're just throwing an opening to have an opening, and that you're putting in some green to have some green. And that's how it goes back to Shauna's comment about integrating the landscape, that you have all of these really interesting details and ideas, and it would be nice if it expressed a bit more cohesion throughout. Again, like with the louvers as well, they just seem to be applied, as opposed to integrated. And it's a little bit hard to see in your drawings, but it seems like there's also a pattern with the louvers on the front elevation. It's a little bit hard to, I guess, oh yeah, you can see it a little bit better there. But I'm assuming on the renderings, you don't see it as much because of the shading and it's very dark. Those were just the recommendations that I had. And then let me ask you a question too, again, with the front screening. There are ones that are completely open and there are just ones that are recessed. Was that just a gesture to open it up or to create a little bit more rhythm?
Okay, yes, I agree. The pattern of the openings, I see some symmetry that shouldn't happen there. It should have been more random. I can work on that, of course. The openings that are closed is because we have a program behind, so you just recess a layer to put a planter, but it could not be completely open. That's the garage and storage, so it's a combination. The volume starts at 47 feet from the street, so it is really tight. I understand that, but we look at that and try to set it as far behind as possible, and you will see several heights and planes. So within the condition that we found, I think we try to address that because it is very tight.
Well, and I think that you do, there's a lot of opening. There is a certain, clearly you're playing with volumes and lightness, and I get it, I understand. I think that it's challenging because this property, it's a little bit, not all, not a lot of properties are like this and so, mushed up so close to the street. So I think you're pretty far along and just want to help, finesse it to be even more impressive, an impressive structure that I know you want to create.
And this one?
No, the other one. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, well, yeah, when you see it with the landscaping, it looks a little different, when it's just the volumes. But in reality, it will have lots of plants. It will have lots of plants. But yes, we can work with the patterns, both of the
Let me
main
ask
wall
you, before you work on those patterns, let me just make sure I understand. Are you referring, Sarah, to I guess it's the east and the west sides, the sides of the home?
No, I'm referring to the pattern that he put in this curved screen.
Okay.
Where the cutouts, the squares and the rectangles just feel a little bit arbitrary as opposed to intentional, and there's not a clear rhythm as you go across the screen. This is going to be one of the dominant features on the street, and it just needs a little bit of...
What is behind those openings or those windows?
On the upper level, there's a terrace for 2 bedrooms or study, and on the lower level, there is storage and garage. On the left side, it's basically like a covered area, which is the access to the garage. But the intention was to do them random, and because since it's going to have plants, we wanted to make it more like nature, more random. But perhaps it needs to be tweaked. That's understandable.
Yeah, I think it's because the forms are so strictly geometric. It doesn't really reference nature. It's just. If you did want to do something, more natural for that, then make the forms feel more organic. But right now they're very geometric. So I think it's working. Your ideas are working against each other.
Yes, that's right. I meant to say probably tropical because there's depth. You're gonna see the shading and with the plants. but I would not, I think the intention should not be to provide regular openings. In my
Right.
opinion, it should be random. Is that contrast between?
So if you were, there's a number 1, I believe, above the rectangular window next to the terrace.
Uh-huh.
Is that one of the items you're referring to, Sarah? And then the 2 lower openings that appear to be?
No, I'm talking about where there's a 4 and a 1. That's the side I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the
Yeah, the
area where
one-
there's a stair.
Yeah,
It's the other.
The one is the rectangular.
Yeah, the opening.
Or window. And then the other one is which one?
Yeah, it's that section. You know what, maybe could you
I-
bring up, if, there's another drawing that just shows on 28, that shows it without the trees, and that might be an easier way to, and that's also a head-on view. I guess you can see it there. Even, is this number 28? 28 is the
Previous.
contextual.
The context one? Is it in my presentation? I think it's in the full package, right?
Oh, wait, there. You just
Oh,
passed
there,
it.
okay, okay.
Go back one more.
No?
One more. Go back. Sorry, keep going back. Yeah, it's before the topographic survey.
This one, that's the side, those are the sides.
Oh, then maybe I'm looking at, no, I feel like this was just from the side. That,
Oh, that, okay.
I mean, I have it blown up on my screen so I can see it better, but it's that pattern in the screening that I think if it had, it doesn't necessarily have a relationship with any of the other volumes, or, you know, it's a matter of moving things a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, you know, small tweaks, but you see that's the main, that's what you're gonna see. It's also high, so, you know, it should be,
Well, yeah, in this drawing, it's very abstract. It's, I guess for comparison, it's a requirement, but they may be at a different depth from you, and with plants. Some of these houses, you cannot even see them.
but it does do a good job of showing the lines and sort of the business and how many different lines that we're gonna be seeing and their relationships.
Yes, I'm just,
Without the landscaping though, and I think once you add the landscaping, they will not be as visible. Oh, right there.
I was trying to
Okay.
find the
Okay.
context of.
And I just want to make sure I
Pictures.
understand the exact openings you're referring to, and I guess they're the best way for me to refer to them, they're to the right of the terrace opening, the round terrace opening, is that what
The
you're
screen,
referring?
it's the
Okay.
round screening.
Yeah.
This is the neighborhood, some of the houses that are really understory houses, and they're not set back at 47 feet, you know, like the one on top right and top left. So I think, I mean, the house is high, but it will probably be less imposing than some of the neighbors.
Yeah. Personally, we all have different tastes and designs in our heads, but I don't have a problem with it not being organized in their pattern. I like how it looks, and I think even with the landscaping, it'll maybe be less pronounced, to address more of the concern that you have.
Well, there's also a good design principle where you create a structure that's well-designed and the landscaping is just the extra, as opposed to designing with landscaping as the major feature, because plants die, people want different
And they
things.
change them, and they're
You know.
sometimes not as tall as others,
Yeah.
but even without the landscaping, I find it to be okay.
Well, and these aren't major design changes. I mean, these are small tweaks. This is not gonna
Yes, and it's
delay
natural
this
to
project
continue
extensively,
progress.
you know.
Quickly, I appreciate your comments. Obviously, we all want to work something that's iconic also for the community. But I don't like comparison. But when you compare, like, for instance, a house on 300 Palm Avenue, which is the one right behind, and what we are trying to do, I kind of like the look, and I know we spent almost 1 year together with the architect, because the idea was to create some of an art form. So that's why I think what you are saying to you is that it doesn't flow in. It was kind of almost intentional, you know what I'm saying, so that it's kind of an abstract form, and yet because of the landscape, it's integrated. And, and of course, we'll take into consideration what you're saying, but when you look the neighbors around, I think what we are bringing to the community is something, I love it. I love it because I think it's just so different. It's like there is an inspiration behind it. So I don't know how we go from there, but we certainly want to take into consideration what you are saying. At the same time, we'd like to move forward.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that we're more in agreement than, you know, you realize, but because too, we want to create beautiful landmarks and structures that make our whole community proud. So, and I want to be able to have you as the creative, you know, realize the vision that you've had, and you, the owner, be very proud of this beautiful building that you've created and given to the community. And, you know, if there's just a few little things here and there that really will take it to the next level, that's my suggestions. There was another question that I had too, in those recesses on the lowest area, what material are you using? There were some that were brown, you know what I'm?
Yeah.
And is that
Can
gonna
you
be
see
the
in the-
same, the aluminum from the louvers?
The lower volume, it's all stone and goes right inside into the house. And the upper volumes, it's louvers, it's all.
I guess,
aluminum
you know what,
louvers.
maybe it could be the drawings.
We have some-
Oh, you know what, I wonder if it's just coming in the renderings, it looks like there's something textured, but they're all open.
There are some walls in the front elevation, like on the left side, that it's supposed to be Prodima panels, wood panels.
Oh, wood panels.
Yeah, it's so between the wood panels in the same color as the louvers, and it's similar to the bronze of the aluminum
Okay.
windows. It's supposed to be all in the same.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't gonna be another material or element, that it was just gonna be the same. So you basically have the stucco, the oolite, and this dark aluminum
Yes,
louvers.
that will look like wood. It looks kind of dark in the rendering, but it looks like wood, but it will not fade away, and
And it's gonna be the same color as.
the same color, yes. So the outer frame is the contrasting container, and then everything inside is in a darker color.
Do you have a better image of that or no?
Let me check. Well, this is like a partial, but. No, I don't think we have another one in color like that.
I guess. On the materials board, I think there's yeah,
Yeah, that's. the one.
that was what I was looking at, and that's why. So it's gonna, because in this rendering, it looks like it's a different shade than the louvers, but it could just be the shading from the rendering.
Yes, I think everything is in shade there, and it looks darker in this lighting. Yes, because the sun is in the front.
Yeah, my comment would just be there's so many different things happening on that view to try to, you know, reduce it to be similar, again, to add to the cohesion of the whole, just to make it the same color. Not to add something in addition, but, you know, blending.
Okay, I totally understand, and, you know, about also the opening, so we will try to improve that. Introducing this geometry in a tight site, it's challenging, but there are limitations, but we will do our best.
Well, and I like the concept too of having this open terrace at the front of the house with this interesting architectural screen. Like, I get it. It's nice.
Also bring like the community feeling.
Yeah.
When you see a lot of the different houses, and that's what I had asked, if I may.
Oh, can you get on the microphone?
It's inviting.
Sorry about that. That's what I had asked the architect, and that's why I selected him, because I look at a lot of architects, some of them very well known, but I felt that it's box. So it's not a community feeling. It's not like you belong. It's just like you are within your own sphere. And that's why I like the entrance, because architecture-wise, it's like a piece of art, in my opinion. I'm saying it's like, wow. And at the same time, there is that warm feeling into it's a terrace where there's people that are going to communicate. I always say hello to my neighbors, and always when I say hello to my neighbors, I realize that they don't have a place to say hello, like you used to have in Europe, where there's a courtyard. So that's what the feeling too, so it's not just I am by myself, I belong with a community. Yeah. That's the feel we try to get.
Have you shown the design to the neighbor to the east?
Yes, I've talked to the neighbor to the east. She was in Europe for a few months, and then I talked to her, and we couldn't get physically together, but she, as far as I'm understanding, she's in favor. I talk also to all my other neighbors, and they all love it. They're all for it, because I don't know if you have the picture of where I currently live. It's like I was saying, it's very different. So yeah, I think they're all for it.
Okay, any other comments or thoughts, recommendations? Do you want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Can I add the friendly amendment for the, okay.
Do you want to put it in your words, or, okay.
I mean, I could do that. I could say to work with the staff to refine the front screening structure so that it has a rhythm and is integrated with the design of the entire facade. Better. Did I leave anything out? And did you want to also add the stuff about the landscaping, or?
I think, yeah, as a friendly amendment, just as you're reviewing sort of openings, you could also review, the landscape and see if there's ways to focus or integrate the landscape more with the interior spaces.
Sorry, there's one comment that relates to this that I forgot to mention. In the rear, you also have a punch out with some green. And I was gonna say that doesn't seem, I think it would be more successful just without the punch out. That it would just, again, the rear is very minimal. Mm-hmm. And I wanna, and I think having that, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It interrupts that it's very clean.
Okay.
So that would be the only.
Can we see that screen that you were referring to?
On the left at the bottom, you can see there were some openings there. Not too many, because we have pool equipment behind, but.
Right.
Maybe there's a better view, just.
Oh, no, that
one showed, that one showed.
This one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that has it.
And with that column there with the one,
that
that
one.
just seems.
What is behind that screen?
Behind, there's just the garden
Just
and
right
pool
there.
equipment
Okay.
on a platform. I think you can see it there, in the bottom.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
It was too tight to the front, even if.
Yeah, I think it ties it in with the front design. I
Well, there is
think it
another one
blends
right
it in.
there. Okay, whatever. I think it's unnecessary, but, I'm not gonna, it's not the hill I'm gonna die on.
I make a motion to approve with two friendly amendments. One where you review the landscape and integrate the spaces of the landscape to the interior spaces where possible. And then looking at, I think, the curved elements where there's the apertures and defining that rhythm and language that ties it to the rest of the house. Tell me if I'm getting this wrong, but it's not about, if it is random, I think per the comments earlier, there's so much of the house that's not random. So just like, what is the language of the entire house, and making those curved elements tie together.
Do we have a second?
Second.
One clarification, so you are withdrawing the request for the waiver for the,
Correct.
for the open space? So another amendment would be to remove the waiver from the.
Yeah, and it's just approval of an understory.
Do you want me to say, oh, sorry, do you want me to say that we approve the removal, or approve with the removal of the requested waiver?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah, Myra seconded.
Second.
Myra, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Okay. Moving on to our new applications, DRB 230975, 2344 North Bay Road.
This application has been filed requesting design review approval to allow for the construction of a two-story addition and a second-floor addition to an existing two-story home, including one or more waivers and a variance to reduce the required side setback.
Okay, so this is an addition to an existing home. The home was constructed in 2000 in a Mediterranean style. The applicant, in the plan submitted, the applicant showed two additions. The first of those additions was sited along the central portion of the front facade of the residence. However, the applicant has indicated that they are no longer seeking to do that addition, so that is being removed from the application. So that leaves another addition that is on the edge of the property, on the south elevation of the property, and they are proposing a second-story addition to an existing one-story extension that happens at the front of the home. The extension would require a waiver. Would require a variance to reduce the interior side yard setback. The interior side yards have been increased since the home was originally constructed. So the applicant is proposing to follow the existing constructed setback lines for this two-story addition. So the current required setback is 15 feet. The applicant is requesting that the addition be constructed at 7 feet 5 inches from the property line. The staff is supportive of the variance. Given that it was constructed under a prior code, it is a practical difficulty, and following that line does make sense with the architecture of the home. The applicant is also requesting a waiver of the open space requirement for two-story volumes that exceed 60 feet. So this volume would exceed that distance. Staff is supportive of the waiver. The home is there. There's no way to add that open space at this point. However, staff does feel that that the applicant can improve the conditions of that expanse using various architectural elements. Staff suggests that it could be either recessed planes or wall planes, niches, or other architectural details, maybe false windows, or maybe even some score lines, something to break up that facade. It is there. It's hard to work with it, but maybe somehow that could be improved a little bit because it does create a condition where you have a long expanse of a blank wall on that elevation. But again, it is there, so it's tough to work with. With that, staff recommends that the variance be approved and that the waiver be approved, subject to the conditions in the attached draft order.
Thank you very much.
And Matt, before we start, two things. One, any ex-parte communications to be disclosed at this time? Nope.
No.
And then Matt, I think some of your folks came in late and need to be sworn in.
Please
So
do.
those that haven't previously been sworn in, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you, and I'll set the clock at 10 minutes.
When you do your presentation, can you just point out to the variance and the waiver that Rogelio was mentioning that is part of your application? Thank you.
Will do. Good morning. Matt Amster with the law firm of Burke, Howardell, Fernandez, Larkin, and Tapanez. Office is at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard in Miami. Here today representing 2344 Irrevocable Trust. From the trust, we have Fred Carlton sitting in the front row. With me, the design architect, Jose Lobo, his assistant, Rodolfo Ledzema, and my colleague, Robert Alvarez. We're here today, these owners have been here in this house for 20 years, and all they're looking to do to meet their growing needs is a very minor, modest addition at the southeast corner. This is only on the second floor. It is following the existing building line, and we're not adding to the footprint of the home. In fact, I think quite beautifully integrating, we're completing the home design as it faces the front facade. If you call up our presentation, please. Thank you. There's a home, as Rogelio mentioned, just on the left is the area that we're adding that minor addition on the second floor. There had been, but it's basically for illustrative purposes only, another addition at the front of the house, the recessed portion in the courtyard. That's not being carried forward at this time. So we're only here today for the front left portion at the second floor. We'll get in.
Wait, so is that on there, the one that you're not doing?
Yeah, just the timing of, you'll see we have a picture showing the front, so you'll see it's basically mimicking the same design as is there today, but we're not moving forward with that front two-story addition. That is not subject to any waiver or variance at all. So the only purpose for the application is for this second floor addition, which is the top left there. You can see the window above the door. That's really the only, you'll see this in more images.
Okay.
We'll make it clear, but just wanted to focus that's really all the scope of this application for today. Next slide. Just to give you the lay of the land. And in fact, best to look at the one on the right side. The applicant personally went door to door to speak to all the neighbors. You have a handout of 4 letters of support. This is from the home on the right of our property, which is the south neighbor, the one that immediately abuts where this addition is being placed. And then the 3 homes across the street. Again, those are the other ones that would be able to view this minor addition. All of them are supportive of our both application and our waiver and variance. Next slide, just some current images to help you out on the left side in the middle. That's the front facade as it is today, and you can see this small one-story addition that we're going to put a minor addition on top. And that's really the scope of our application. I'm going to turn it over to Jose.
Hi, good morning, members of the board. My name is Jose Lobo from Soul Design Studio for 108 Southeast 8th Avenue, Fort Lauderdale. I wanted to talk to you about the nature of, well, not the nature, but the elements of Spanish Mediterranean architecture that signify this home. One is the tower, which makes the arrival of the home. Then we have courtyards, which are very prominent in this type of architecture. We have a front amenity, a koi pond in this home, and then we notice how that embraced the front enclosure, and then we are respectful of the asymmetry that makes this type of architecture. And also, we looked at the multiple volumes and their different heights, and that's how we proposed the height of this element that you see on the bottom picture. It's on the left side, and what we're doing is we're basically just completing this front court that makes up the home, and you can kind of see the asymmetry of the openings. We have placed openings in the front, the sides of the second story volume, and wrapping the corner, just sort of like going into that very lush space that makes up the space, the setbacks between the 2 homes. Here's some more technical drawings of the addition. Here you can see how the house or the existing house seems incomplete at this time, and now with the second story addition, it would just make a whole. Also, notice that the front court, how we're embracing that, the different level roofs. And here's at your request. We're seeing this is the variance request for the interior setback. At the time of that the house was built, the setback was 7.5 feet. And now there's a 15-foot setback required. But we all know that if we do that addition on the second floor, it would be just awkward. And then for the waiver request, we do have the 60-foot code requirement, but as you can see, this would be the space that we would have to consider removing, which is at this point is one of the essential parts of the house. And then here we can see the south elevation. In top is the existing. As all the landscape that you see there is existing. And on the south side, you see the proposed, in which we see the addition and the fenestration of the two windows. We're carrying some of the bands that are coming around from the front.
Before you move on, this also is a good reflection of the varying heights of the building. Our addition is lower than the portion just to the left of it, and roughly the same height as the further to the left. But in the center, you see a second portion. The home was originally built with a tower. That's much further recessed. That is not at the side elevation at all. It's very far back. Varying height elements here to help, break up the massing with this addition.
And then here in this slide, we can see the existing landscape that exists between the two homes. And it's made up of trees and palm trees and shrubs, and it's really just a space, a corridor between the two homes that doesn't really affect any. The addition of the house will not affect very much the views or existing spaces on the south property.
Yeah, it serves as a existing buffer for all these years already, between these two neighbors. Both our property owner and the neighbor's landscaping are, again, extensively the buffer that's already in place to help screen this addition, since it already screens the home itself.
And here's a rendering of how the first rendering that we showed you, in which we're showing the addition.
Yeah, so just to, in summary, we're here requesting this modest addition that, we're following the existing building lines. This is something that, again, owners should be encouraged to build additions where they can to their homes to make the proper use, make that addition be compatible and harmonious with the existing home, which I think this actually helps complete. I think it's a better design with this rather than the current existing condition. We agree with all of staff's comments, including we can provide some additional element on the addition on the south, and we'll work with staff to make sure that is complied with. So with that, we request approval of both the variance and the waiver and the design, and we're here for any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak?
I see no hands are raised.
Okay, great. I'm now closing the public portion and opening it up to the board for comments or questions. So to clarify, I think we both had the question, what's included in the presentation, but what you're not planning on doing is expanding the width of, I guess, the center section of the house.
Correct.
That's what, although it's included in the application, you're just not gonna move forward with doing it.
Right.
Okay.
And just to be clear, we provided a revised set to staff that makes it clear with a note that the two-story front addition is for illustrative purposes only. So because when you approve an application, there's a reference to the plans. So, and those carry forward into building permit for review. So I just wanted to make that item to be on those plans that you would hopefully approve today, that those are essentially only for this second floor addition at the southeast corner and not for the center two-story addition.
Okay, although that was actually gonna be one of my questions, but that it's okay that it's not exactly what you're doing and that, okay. Did that answer your question about what was, okay. Any comments?
I guess I just want to understand, sort of, since you talked holistically about, the Mediterranean architecture and the components of it, and you want us to address this as a holistic project. There are plans, though, to reconfigure at the center of the building and do that addition, or it's just been separated out, or that the larger reconfiguration is not going to happen?
It's not gonna.
Can you step up to the microphone?
Fred Carlton, 2344 North Bay Road. I thought about it, and I just wanted to take a look at it, so I asked them to draw it, but it's so low on the totem pole that it's just not something I'm going to consider doing at this time.
So can I ask, is this current addition that you are doing, is that 451 square feet addition?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I'll just say, I understand coming to us with just that 450 square foot addition and saying, we're carrying the line forward. It's within the language of the existing structure. That makes total sense. I have no issues with that. I don't want this to come back and bite me, but if there is sort of this larger reconfiguration of the project plan, then I would feel slightly differently, because I would say, well, we're allowing the variance to not have, a relief in the elevation. And so if there's larger changes happening, I would say, well, you could make the style and the architecture of the current house, match that. But if that's not the goal, then I have no issues, structurally, spatially, formally, it makes sense just to continue that second floor out, even though that's not the current, codes. But
I assume that if someday in the future you decide to build out that front, it would take them over the unit size and the lot coverage, and they would have to come back to us as a board. But that's not what's presented before us, nor the wish of the owner. So I agree with the previous comment. The existing requests for a variance and waiver are within reason, and the addition is very nice. Thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. If this could just be taken into consideration, I just noticed that all of the second story windows, or not windows, but doors have that balcony railing, and I realize this is a closet or something, so there's not really an opportunity to do a balcony, but maybe a Juliet sort of just the ironwork around the window may benefit from a continuous, from some balance there. Not necessarily need that, but I just think that could be a nice touch to add. But no, otherwise, I think this looks nice, and I think this helps the design of the house overall.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a very sensitive addition. I agree with Matt about I'd like to encourage people to use what they have and then improve upon it. And I like seeing how, longtime residents are able to adapt to, you know, what they have. So I'm in support of this. It's very nice. And I think you did a good job, you know, sticking to the original design theme. It doesn't really bother me at all, this, because it's so deep on the side with the solidity of the extension. So I'm in support of the project.
Can I ask one more question? Or were you going to say something? I'm just, we don't see a second floor plan. You know, well, the second floor plan that was submitted is based on the reconfiguration with the other addition. So is there a second floor plan that we understand? Like, you know, yes, it was shown in the whole reconfiguration as a closet and a bathroom, but I don't. Is there a second floor plan?
I can, it's on there, project. So it's closet and dressing room.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I make a motion to approve with.
Do we need
the variance?
to stipulate in the motion that it doesn't include that the second story, or be specific that it just includes the second floor addition, not, or, you know, you know what I'm saying, that it includes one thing but not the other? Because the application that we're seeing is for both sections.
Yes, we do need to update that the plans are consistent with those that were provided in the subsequent update that are dated, let me get the date here. 10/13/2024. Give me one second. Architectural plans, update. Sorry, updated on. Oh, no, say, dated, that the applicant shall build substantially in accordance with the plans dated October 13th, 2024, as opposed to those dated October 10th.
And in our design review board memorandum that you prepared, it under variance review, Shauna, and waiver review, it tells you exactly the two things that are being requested at this time and that we would be approving or voting on. You want me to read it? Okay. A variance, so the project is a motion to approve the project for 2344 North Bay Road, which includes a variance to reduce the 7 feet, 7 foot minimum required interior yard setback of 15 feet in order to construct a second story addition on the interior south yard at 7.5 feet from the side property line, and a variance to include the interior side setback variance for a second story addition towards the front of the home so that it can continue with the same setback as the existing home where the addition is being added to.
So,
That clear as mud now?
yeah, so just the only changes would be that updating it so that the plans reflect the revised plans submitted on October 13th. And then we will revise the order because the order does mention the construction of a two-story addition and a second floor addition. We will revise it to strike out the two-story addition portion and just leave it to mention a second floor addition to an existing two-story home.
Do we have to vote on the variance separately from the approval, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, you can combine the two if everybody's comfortable with both.
It's a variance and a waiver.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I may, just for clarity, I know you're referencing an October 13th set of plans. I know it was in November that we submitted them. Maybe the date on the plan says October 13th, so I just
Yes.
want to,
Yes, it's, the date on the plan says October 13th,
Okay.
so when our staff opens it up, I just want to make sure that when they look at the date on the plans, that they're uniform. So I know it was submitted later, maybe that
maybe for the
date-
record, we can say that they're submitted on November 22nd.
Sure,
So there's
that's a good idea.
There's a
That were submitted on
submittal to
the-
staff for clarification that we can ensure that the October 13th are the right set of plans. This is the set of plans that says the two-story addition in the middle, right? It is illustrative only. And one more thing, I think, to clarify and make this easier, in the title, right, the subject of our request, it's page 1 of the draft resolution. You could just cross off, right, do a strike through
Yep.
of the two-story addition.
Yep, that's exactly what we'll do.
Yeah.
And so it was emailed on November
I have
For-
November 22nd
November 22nd.
for, yes, November 22nd.
That makes sense. Let me double check. But that's when I received.
So the motion was.
Sorry, November 20th.
No. Sorry. So the motion was to approve the project as presented in today's meeting with a waiver and a variance to add a second-story addition to the south front of the home, including following the same side yard setback that exists in the current home.
Okay, we have a motion. Did we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the variance passes.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
we
very
have a-
much.
That was with the design as
And
well?
the design as
Everything all
well,
at once?
yep.
Perfect. Thank you all very much.
Okay. Moving on to, excuse me, our final application. It's for today, DRB 24 1047 1974 Marseille Drive.
This application is requesting design review approval for a new 5-story multifamily building with one or more waivers to replace an existing residence.
Okay, the applicant's here, okay. Okay, so this subject site is located on Normandy Isle on an interior parcel. The applicant is proposing to construct a 4-story, 12-unit residential multifamily building with ground floor parking and a shared rooftop amenity. The project proposes 12 one-bedroom units that are approximately 800 square feet in area. The ground floor has 11 parking spaces, an entrance foyer with an elevator, 2 sets of stairs, and an enclosed trash room. Each of the residential floors has 3 units that are organized around a corridor that run along the west side of the building and a centrally located opening. The lot is a standard lot. It's about 9,099 square feet. The building is of a contemporary style that has Morpheus-shaped stucco grids that project beyond the building's walls and frame the balconies in a curvilinear fashion. Staff is supportive of the design. However, the one recommendation that staff does have is for the ground floor. Staff does recommend that there be screening along the garage levels to make sure that lights don't impact neighboring properties as vehicles move around and they park and such. So since it is an interior lot. And so with that, staff recommends that the application be approved, subject to the conditions in the attached draft order. There are no waivers or variances for this proposal.
And before we proceed, any ex-party communications?
No.
Seeing none? And has everyone on your team been sworn in?
Yes.
You all been sworn in already?
Yeah, just the 3 of us. Yeah.
You have been? You didn't come in late?
Yeah, we were late.
You were late?
Yeah.
Ah.
Please raise your right hand.
Yeah.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving in this
Truth,
proceeding
sure,
is
yeah.
the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And I'll set the clock at 10 minutes. and
Thank you.
You got it.
Well, we are presenting today Sandbox. As mentioned, it is located on Marcel Drive. It's a 5-story building. It has 12 apartment units and 11 parking spaces. The general location is 1974 Marshall Drive. The zoning is RM FL1. The flood zone, it's at 8 feet. And the lot coverage, the lot area, it's 9,099 square feet.
Can you put the presentation, please?
Acá no está, ok. Ah, no está compartida. Okay.
Page up, page 2.
No.
Like this.
So there's the location of the property. Well, the idea for this design comes from the beautiful textures that we get from the sand at the beach. And the idea is to incorporate that in the shape that we see in the building. With natural colors, as we were checking on the previous projects, trying to work with light colors and more connected to what we have and the character of the city. We wanted to play with that sand texture and shapes. That's why we created this organic form, and we play with it through the entire exterior of the building. What you see there is a hand sketch with the main idea, the original idea, where you can play with the organic shapes, but in the same time prepare the units with like rectangular shapes that it's more functional for the owners. That's why we have this proposal with 3 apartments in each level. So we have in the ground floor only the parking and the access to the apartments. In the next levels, they have the same typical layout with 3 units, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom each, with an average of 800 square feet each. The context help us to work with the entire facade, with the 4 facades, because we already have multifamilies built around, so I don't think that they're gonna change in a short term. And what we have also is in the back, it's a building that all the parking area, it's open, so we kind of have pretty much like a good opening around our building. So we thought it was good to get involved in the 4 facades of the building. That's the front view. Basically, we try to put those organic and curved lines vertically and horizontally, trying to play with white stucco, sand color rough stucco to kind of imitate the sand texture. And all the window framings and the case of the stairs, making it in a brown metal. What's the name?
Aluminum.
Yeah, but what's the name of the color?
The dark, isn't the lights dark or hazelnut?
Hazelnut bronze color metal frames that will give a little dark color for all the framings, but not that dark. It's kind of like intermediate. We have open corridors. That's part of complying with all the requirements, the FAR and all that. We like the idea of having a cross ventilation through the building, and we create this central garden, vertical garden. Once again, it's not meaning to be like dense. the rear view, the side view, where you can see all the corridor and this mesh that is in a central patio that will be with orchids and all these local plants that can help with the sustainability of the building. So like the corridors are open, the rain happens, that helps to contain the rain not going all splashing the corridors. At the same time, it helps the plants to grow there, the tropical plants, and it creates a more fresh environment.
Go to the sample animation. Another one. Another one.
Those are like, well, the finishes and, well, the brand of the mesh. That's the rooftop. Well, in the ground floor, basically it's all parking. That's what can be fit there. We have a reduction of 1 parking space, but we get to maintain the on-street parking. We can accommodate everything to have the new driveway and maintain the on-street parking that we have there in this moment. And well, this is a typical floor plan for the units. They are all like, all the levels are the same. And as I mentioned before, they are very much squared to fit like a functional space for the people. And we created balconies, like more like patio, like with a nice area for having some extra green planters. Yeah, and the access to the roof is minimum. It's more for maintenance than anything else. Well, here is like a sketch of the intention of the cross ventilation and having all this situation where with that mesh creating this fresh air coming through the building, especially for summer. And the incidence of the natural light, right?
This is the company.
That's part of the flyer of the provider of that type of mesh. It's for reference. And yeah, that's it. That's the end of the presentation.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, great. I'm now going to close the public portion, open this up to the board for discussion. I should say, it's nice to see you guys again. You're very busy in North Beach.
Thank you.
I can start if you don't. There's so many things about this project. There's so many ideas that you have that I really, really like. And I like the sort of organic, the atrium, the flowy nature of it. I think it's a really nice concept. One of the things that when I was reviewing the presentation the other day, can you put it on, I think it's page 6, that has your sketch? The one before it. Yeah, that one. So one of the things I'm always doing when I'm looking at these projects is saying, I love talking to the architect and understanding what their idea was and their vision, and then making sure that what their vision was is then got realized in that way. And so one of the things I really love this sketch that you did, and it's these very beautiful flowing lines. I can see the direct references. But then when I looked at the actual design, the shapes that you have that you ended up translating it into, resembled less this sort of long, flowy lines of the sand, and more, and if you want to go to the I think it's page 11, more almost like funnels. The original concept is very horizontal and flowy, and it seems like in translation, you ended up with these forms that are very vertical and a little bit more rigid. And it's standing in contrast to the general flowy lines that extend around the perimeters that, distinguish the different floor levels. So that would be my sort of general overarching suggestion, to really explore that original, like push that concept, because that was really interesting, and I think it's going to make a distinctive statement. Integrate that more as a whole. I know that you're concerned about like the viewing corridors and everything, which again, like this is a beautiful location. Whoever lives here is going to have a fantastic view.
I actually agree. We simplify the shape more like thinking in the construction process, and to make sure that they can actually apply the idea and make it like and not creating weird uneven things,
Right.
I'm not sure how it's gonna be constructed. Like if the contractor will have the capability of doing all like too much different shapes. That's why we were simplifying the curves, trying to continue with the idea, because I love that, to make it like super organic. But I'm not sure if
you can pull it off.
Yeah.
Because is this made out of concrete, or what is
that? That would be concrete, yes.
And can't you form? I mean, maybe I'm concrete into.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure.
Depends. I mean, that's it, I think that it's sort of it's not as successful as I want it to be in this shape. If it's not going to be this, maybe it's also because it seems like right now you have these funnel shapes competing with the grills at the corner, which I understand is covering the stairwell, but and then you have with the lines of the glazing. There's just a lot of things that are conflicting here. Maybe even if the glazing followed the curvature of the line, but the glazing is straight. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some tweaks that I want this idea to be realized, and there are some things that you're presenting that are sort of counteracting that.
That's why we play horizontally and vertically, kind of like flat, to make it more easy under the construction process. That's why the slab has the curves already horizontally.
Right.
And vertically with all those shapes.
Right. There was that, which I think is a major design concern. I didn't notice this the first time, but I'm noticing it now. Do you have the bicycle racks as the decorative element?
That lines that you see in the front next to the pedestrian entrance, it's required.
Yeah. I have to say, I think that that's a big mistake. I think that that's inviting people to steal bicycles. People love stealing bicycles in Miami Beach. And I wouldn't put that. If I live there.
It was required though. And they required to put those.
Yeah, but can you put it on the inside? Not that it's. Do you have to display bicycles on the outside of
I think it was traffic
building?
There's a requirement that short-term bicycle parking be located towards the front and be accessible.
But could you put it on the other side of the wall, or like?
I think they have it there too, so it may be how many spaces are required. It may be a space constraint.
Because I believe they are supposed to be for the public, not for the people in the building.
It's primarily short-term would be for visitors coming, essentially the same as visitor parking. Let me look at this precise requirement.
There is bicycle parking right on the back side of that wall.
Right, on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
It's just confusing to me because I think, again, it interrupts this design.
But following your question, I'm sure that I would think that the homeowners that are parking their bike are going to park it on the inside, and only when the inside is totally full will they use the outside. And the outside is really a requirement for public use.
From traffic department.
The requirement is that they be located in a highly visible location near the main entrance to the use. So it doesn't need to be facing the
Attached to the
street,
front
but
wall.
but it should be towards the front of the building.
Right, so the ones on the other side of the wall are fine.
Yeah.
Could you just add more on the, I guess that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're only gonna put 4 bicycles there.
I would guess that, well, I don't know your exact restraints, but on another project we're dealing with this different municipality, but they want a 2-foot by 6-foot area and a 6-foot access in front of it. Like, there's a lot of space dedicated to bicycle parking, so I would guess that as compact as your first floor plan is, they probably don't have it. Even to put it on the back side of the wall, then they can't have the other parking racks that they have there, so. I see what you're saying, but I would guess it's a space constraint.
I think I actually think it's awesome that you incorporated it like that. With Sarah, though, you have a good point, and I would say make sure that there's the ability for people to use those really thick chains and be able to work in whatever
to lock
system
it.
you have, so that would be nice.
At one point, I lived in a small apartment in Normandy Isle, and I had my bike locked outside, and it did not survive. So that's that's my only. I understand the concept and the idea, but it also is just awkward to have the front facade of your building, a main decorative element be 4 bicycles. And who knows if they're gonna sit and get rusted and be abandoned, who knows? And also, what do those rails look like when there's no bicycles on it? Are they these beautiful architectural metal features, or are they just industrial looking rails?
I'm gonna sort of contradict your comment, but like, I love the grittiness of it. Like, to me, the way this is, you still have parking, it's still off street, but it's open air. You guys have really, reduced the footprint that is cooled, and really taken advantage of the climate. And to me, like, I can't remember the address of a project we reviewed a few months ago where, they even had like the roundabout kind of in the driveway and everything was really pushed back, and it was clear that they didn't want to engage the urban public. So, I mean, I've had bikes stolen to Boston. People love to do that, but it's also just sort of like the willingness or the grittiness of the city. So I would love to see, more of that. I don't want to cut you off, Sarah. I also just want to compliment the approach to the design. Can I ask a question, or do you want to keep commenting?
No, I mean, I don't. I just think that it's, it's the same reason. Yeah. No. I don't know why you would want to take this beautiful, elegant building that's inspired by the sand dunes and put something gritty on the front of it.
We cannot put it on the setback, right? Like in the side setback to create some area for those bikes, because we really have like no more space to play with.
And the side setback.
Like on the grass to create one. Maybe
I don't think the rack itself would be encroaching. It's not an allowable yard encroachment. So if you have a few inches to give on your side setback, you could incorporate it there.
No, it's requesting for encroachment.
How many bicycle racks how much bicycle storage do they need?
They're required for short-term rental, 4 per building or 1 per 10 units. So this is 12, so 4 per 4. They would need 4 short-term. And then the long-term requirement is 1 per unit. So they would need 10 long-term spaces.
So that's 14?
Sorry, 12 long-term spaces.
So that's
16 total.
16 required bicycle spaces.
If you put the screen back that was on before, there's a space to the right of the building. No, the one you were on.
The first one?
The first one, yeah, the one you were on, there. Adjacent to the staircase there, is there an area there where you can put a bike rack?
They are the remaining
Bikes are there?
They are there.
Okay. Yeah, on the outside of it? Not on
We
not
have
behind the wall,
a
but.
few in the wall, like
Yeah.
on the other side of the wall and on the floor.
And then facing the side yard, they have circulation, because your
Yeah.
trash
Like
is
the
actually
pedestrian entrance.
coming across there, so.
We're super tight, yes.
Yeah, so I go back, I think that those residents that are there, that have a bike are first going to go into the covered area. And so leaving the uncovered front area for last choice, you know, so it may not
Most
get
likely, and
used
that's why
as
we
much.
choose that lineal
Right.
racks, because
Yeah, no,
in
that
the
was a
meantime,
smart
they're not
idea.
there, it's more aesthetic than the standard
Yeah,
ones.
smart idea. Do you have, better than
I
just
didn't get
plopping
any-
a bike rack in the front of that wall, do you have a picture that shows what that would look like without the bike?
No.
In the presentation,
That family is from the manufacturer? La familia del fabricante?
On page 22 of the presentation, where you guys have your exploded axon and you have the ground floor, you don't have any bike, you're wanting to see just what the 4 vertical lines look
Yeah,
like?
Sarah was saying, what does it look like without the bike? The racks in the front, facing the front of
If you go to page 22. Yeah, no, go back to your exploded axe. Yeah, zoom in there. I mean, it's a bit abstract
Yeah.
as a drawing, but you can see.
Where the others are? It will be under the stairs?
They just wanted to see what the racks look like without a bike in it.
Ah.
Yeah. Number 11, page 11 may give a better view of what the front bike racks would look like when empty.
There's bikes on that.
Oh, I know, there's like.
Is that page 11?
This is 11.
Yeah, page 11.
We don't see the page number, I'm sorry.
Oh.
It's a front view rendering.
yeah.
It's very similar to what we were just looking at.
El render del frente.
It's a picture of, there,
There.
there, you
Yeah.
just
Okay.
passed it, right there, okay. There was one right after that was maybe closer. There, that one.
I was also looking at the floor plan for the garage, you know, and seeing if there's enough room to put it on the other side of that wall. I mean, there was a lot of just sort of the inside of the wall as opposed to the outside of the wall. Do you know what I'm saying?
We already have there, like we have in the front and inside that same wall, and a few more in the, like, of the regular bike racks, like the ones that are in the floor.
Right, and that, according to the plan, the freestanding one holds 10?
Yes.
And then, so there's 5 on the outside and then 5 on the inside?
Yes.
So that's 20.
No, we have 5 inside, 5 outside, that will be 10, plus 4 on the floor, 5 in the floor. 5 in the floor.
Depends how long that.
5 and
Oh.
5, so we have 15 in total.
The floor, the curvy floor one only
Yes.
holds 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I think it's a mistake to put it there, and I understand the constraints.
We can like try to paint it with the same sand color that we're doing with the rough stucco behind that, like to kind of camouflage.
I mean, let me ask you a question, Rogelio, what else have you been seeing that people do, or is this a new requirement and we haven't really been seeing?
I think people have more or less been incorporating it into bike rooms in the interior. When they come in for permitting, they all seem to fit them into a bicycle room in the interior of the building. I've never seen one on the facade like this.
So, and they put a bicycle room on the first, in the parking area.
Yep.
That fits the amount of bikes, and you don't want to give up the parking spaces. Is that?
Yeah, we can't. Another thing is that there was an update on the code, so now we have a wider setback that restricts even more the surface to work with.
I would say of these understory buildings that we've been getting recently, this is probably the largest one that I can think of, and so therefore has the highest bicycle parking requirement, and I think that's why they're having the difficulty that they're having. They tend to be in smaller lots, maybe 6,000 square feet or 7,000 square feet instead of this one that's about 9,000 square feet.
Estoy pensando quizás en la
Yeah, I don't know, but my concern too is that this is gonna come up again. I mean, I just don't want a nice apartment building looking like an intermodal hub.
Okay.
I
I think
maybe,
that
I don't know.
we can find another wall, like probably in the rear, in the rear staircase, we have like. In the.
Only 4 have to be in a prominent location near that's visible. So the rest of them can be located anywhere.
So, and when you say, so the ones on the inside of the wall, that wouldn't be considered visible? Like it has to be actually visible from the street?
I don't think it has to be visible from the street, but visible, let me read the term again. Highly visible location near the main entrance to the use, so near the stairs, where somebody who's coming into the building near the elevator, that would be highly visible to the entrance of the use.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to be visible from the street.
Again, because I don't want to encourage people to go onto the property to steal the bicycle. You know, I mean, that's.
Yeah, that creates a situation.
That creates a situation. So.
It would be somewhere where a guest who's coming to visit can find the location of the bike rack easily.
Right. Usually it's sort
I
of on the
think that we
sidewalk or
can-
a swale or something like that.
We can probably use one of the walls in the, like in the trash area.
Mm-hmm.
Probably we can fit a few there.
Okay.
We still have the ones inside, like the wall, and. And of
It's
course-
not as good use of space, but maybe if there's racks that lay the bike flat against the wall. Like I said, it doesn't use the space as well as the ones that you have. I don't know. Anyway, okay. I think
Well, I think that we can fix
Yeah.
that.
something, okay. Sorry. Shauna, did you have other comments?
Yeah, I was interested in, sorry, now I have to go back to can you just go to one of your renderings of the building? Yeah, the one after. So when I was first looking at the renderings, I thought perhaps it was a sort of a.
That's the rear.
This is fine. Either one of those will work. I thought that there maybe was sort of a thickness in the floor plate where the stucco steps, or but is it just a light? I can't tell from the rendering. So maybe if you go to the other one, because it looks here, it looked like
That line that you see, like.
yeah.
Well, the idea is to have the LED stripe light to
Reinforce the
highlight
curve.
the shape
Yeah.
during night
So
hours.
it is just the light. It's not like a step or a thickness.
No, it's just like the light. It's basically to keep showing the form and the shape.
Yeah, I understand the move. I think it's a good move, but I don't think the light is going to read like this. I mean, at night it will, but I don't think in the day we're going to perceive that sort of light, like in a rendering, it's easy to show it as a line. But so I guess I was hoping that it was actually, I think this goes back to one of Sarah's earlier comments about reinforcing some of that organic form, that it was actually sort of, you were carving away, at a thickness.
So like we can add some sort of void to incorporate the light, and during the day you can see the shade of that void.
What?
No, if she did some kind of relief or a channel, you'd see kind of a shadow or a relief.
Yeah, I think, just go back to the rendering that's right next to the, so here I just like, again, and I like the move. I think the idea that the building's curving and moving and addressing the street is the side you guys have these, but we're never gonna perceive it like this. So if it is a shadow line or a reveal or something to reinforce that line, I think that would work, with the light, if it's also a light.
Yeah, that's easy to add.
If you could go forward, I think 2 slides to the side view, maybe one more. Yeah, this will work. So yeah, like everyone's been saying, I really appreciate the curvature of the building, and I'm kind of seeing like a honeycomb-esque feature to it. Where I feel like it's needed still is with this elevator shaft on the left. It's becomes this very angular box, which I realize needs to be a right angle, but which was, I think Sarah's first comment was maybe continuing that brown, the cladding or whatever you're using to cover, like maybe considering bringing that out so that it like step tiers and you incorporate some curvature that masks that.
Like vertically to see the curvy shape.
Yeah, I feel like we just see that honeycomb sand shape on the front and then the curvature of the building, but then we have this kind of stark elevator shaft on the side, and maybe nobody's really seeing that, but it just stuck out to me in some of the renderings, maybe just bringing that brown forward, and it doesn't have to cover it entirely, but I thought it could benefit from that. My only other comment, and maybe this is a cost or a space restriction, is with the element of sand, kind of think about water. So I feel like this could benefit from some sort of water feature, whether that's where the bicycle racks were, which I don't mind where they're at now, but or maybe at the front, some sort of like water flow could be a nice addition too. But overall, I think it's a great design.
Thank you.
On this wall.
Yeah.
Maybe by where the address is on the front of the building.
Yeah, that wall's a little
May
bare.
not be feasible, I'm not sure, but the wall to the left in the main entrance of the building.
There, yeah.
Yeah,
There is
by the
opposed,
numbering.
like a double layer.
Opposite to the bike rack.
Laura, can I ask you a clarifying question? Can you guys go to your isometric view where we can see the front and the side together?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. When you say bringing the brown around, are you talking about the horizontal louvers that sort of encase the stairs? Or are you talking about because you mentioned honeycomb too, so the sort of the organic shapes that are going from floor to floor that sort of carry that dune forward? Are you talking about that wrapping around the side?
I mean, I was initially talking about the brown, or the first thing you mentioned, the horizontal line work, but I mean, either I think could benefit from there because it does seem like those stucco pieces that are curved are only on the front, so maybe it would work to continue them around on that side. I just think something to maybe play with the natural form on that side is needed. Just can be on the general curvature of the floor plan. Yeah, just because we have such a linear line there.
I was going to say too, the rest of it is so beautiful and sexy and so many curves, and this is almost like a boring, more plain thing. And I agree. I didn't know what to articulate, and the elevator shaft didn't particularly bother me. But the rest of it just has such contrast with the shapes and the light and everything else, and that just kind of seems a little blander. I mean, maybe it's the light though as well because it's kind of shaded, but I think this is a tough crowd. I think honestly, it's really a beautiful design and it's so much more interesting and. Yeah, I'm really happy to see it. I agree. I'd love to see more of the, like Sarah said at the beginning, but I know your constraints architecturally, and I'd rather see a rendering that's real instead of things get watered down in the actual construction. I hate when that happens. So thanks for being honest about that.
Thank you.
Can you go back to the rear view? I think it's one of the renderings, the rear view rendering. Because what I want to do is be able to give you some suggestions of where you can highlight the organic forms and the curvilinear. And I think here, this shows really, if you look, what's happening, if you look at the glazing and you have these curvilinear forms that I think really make the building stand out and that we're really enjoying, and then you have this very rigid geometric right angle or glazing, if the window frames were curved as well, and I think that's also the issue too with the screening. Again, it's like you have these curvilinear forms, and then they're interrupted in a way by these very rigid 90-degree angled.
Yeah, I think that we can play with the curve, like the funnel that you mentioned, to make it more uneven and different in like playful, and incorporate those in the rear facade, some also on the sides, and I believe that will change a lot already.
Yeah. Well, and to sort of piggyback on what Laura was saying.
And with the
well, even just like the idea of flow,
Yes.
and whether it's sand or wind or water, that these lines just sort of flow. Whereas now they start off flowing and then they get interrupted and then they start, and so.
Yeah, I love it. I don't have any issue. Okay. The constructor is gonna curse me forever, but
Yeah, no, I mean, we've seen, what you've done very recently, so, yeah, and I think that's why
Yeah,
we're all
okay.
excited.
yeah, we can work on that.
Yeah, I commend you. I think it's a very pretty design.
Thank you.
From all four sides. It's not keeping, just giving an invitation or pretty architecture in the front. But it's nice, and it appears to be a nice environment once you're in the building and you come out into those terraces. I think Laura's suggestion of some water feature in the front, if possible, and maybe the angles towards the one side there, where there was just a plain wall. But otherwise, I think it's a very pretty design, and I commend you that you didn't come to us with a white box, which could have probably been a lot cheaper to build, a lot faster to build. So, thank
Well,
you.
I appreciate that you noticed.
How come you decided not to do the forms, I think they look to me like, the triangular things on the other facades or like on the back? You only did it on the front.
At the beginning, we were thinking like to create fixed planters on those balconies, like in the rear facade, for example, to make it those curve and playing with the glass railing and the concrete or stucco shape. I think that we can actually work on that. That was an idea that I had at the beginning, and it may help with all these uneven organic shape.
Shauna, to address her concerns about not being able to make the shapes more like the original sketch, did you have any expert thoughts on that?
Well, if I understood some of the first steps, like the sand dunes, I understood those for, those shell structures that, single-story structures are much easier to construct. When you get too multi-level like this, I think that's why it went vertical. And I would just assume that the vertical organic elements that are applied at the facade are only on the front due to cost. But, so I think our advice is to see if and where you can add more of that language to the rear, especially like if some of those shapes were applied at the rear here, it would get rid of, I think, your concerns about the, boxy window frames, and then a long, whatever that elevation was, the long elevation with the elevator, so.
Let me see. I want to go back to the sketches. Like it's a very bad sketch, but anyway, the first one on the left, bottom left, that was the idea to with those shapes to play more with more movement than what we have right now. I think that we can keep working on that, and as I said, then we will fight with the contractor to get our result.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Even any tweaking you could do, that's such a beautiful design.
And you can work with staff on that. I don't think they would not need to come back to this board.
So can I make a motion to approve with friendly, amendments, the friendly amendments, and to work with staff. The one was to look at the organic, curves that you have on the front facade and see how they could be proliferated along the rear and side facade that help to blend the vertical shaft of the elevator and the sort of vertical lines of the window frames. I'll let you add the other friendly amendment if you want it.
Well, was there any consensus on the bicycles, the bicycle rack?
Yes, we can remove the ones in the front, relocate them, and add a water feature, probably in the same wall.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with the language of you looking, at
Yeah.
the bicycle
Yeah,
racks, and
and
if it's
working with staff
possible,
on that.
then yes.
Yeah, I would say that, because I mean, again, we realize that there's your new restrictions, but yeah, if you could explore and see if a water feature would make sense, or moving the bicycle racks. It seems to me that we all agreed that, sort of the musts would be exploring ways to really make less 90-degree angles and more of the organic flowy lines, and then explore other ways for the other things. Does that seem appropriate?
Yeah.
And again, as an explorer, you might want to reduce the height of, I guess it's the pediment along the top. Like, I don't know. I don't want to give you too many restrictions.
That may be because of the elevator, the one on the top you're
The
you're
overrun
referring
of
to.
the
So you don't
elevator.
fall over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The parapet.
Is that enough direction? Yeah.
I understand
Yeah.
perfectly.
Rogelio, do you feel like we gave your staff enough direction on how to?
I'm comfortable with the proliferation of organic shapes on the sides and rear facades, and in particular to screen the elevator shaft, in order to minimize 90-degree angles.
Yeah, and to look at the glazing and the what do you call it? The screening.
To look at the screenings.
I can't tell from your picture, is the screening curved or is it, okay.
The screening appears to be curved to me, so.
Okay,
Yes,
sorry,
it is.
that was hard to tell.
And then explore, adding a water feature to the front facade. Do we want a firm removal of the bicycle parking from the front facade, or
I
is that
don't-
more of an explore?
I wouldn't go for that. I personally at it doesn't bother me to have the bike rack there. If they can find space inside where they can accommodate the bikes that they need to comply with code, then fine, because they're better inside, they're protected. But otherwise, I don't think we can make it a requirement. We don't know if there's space from what they're saying.
My
to
only
do that.
concern if traffic needs to review it again and get a new revision from them.
They would want to make sure that the racks are there. I don't think they're going to be concerned with the.
Yeah, let's
the
be
ultimate
realistic
design.
about bike racks, though. They're gonna either be slammed in front of a building, the ugly bike racks that you buy wherever, or people tie them to
The
poles and other things. So, I think we should reward some creativity and see if
It
this
is
works. If
very
it's a
creative.
disaster, you'll come up
Yeah.
with something else. But I think
Yeah.
it's kind of a neat concept, and
Have lights attached to the wall.
yeah, no, I think I commend you for trying something different, and I think we should let them go forward and see how it works
So
out.
then not a must, but
No.
a recommendation to explore.
And adding additional organic moves throughout the building, it can get to a point in my thinking that it gets to be too much. And so you don't want too little, you don't want too much, but somewhere in the middle, I think maybe you can add a little bit here and there, but I wouldn't go overboard, because then it really is,
Yeah.
in my opinion, detract from the
Agree.
architecture that you
Yeah.
brought, the design that you brought. It's very pretty.
Thank you.
What else? You also made a comment about the lighting.
For the review.
Yeah, I think if they can explore a relief or
Yeah,
a reveal
review.
at the lighting.
Yeah, that's,
So to explore the bike rack, the organic flow, the lighting, the water feature, possibility of location. Was there any other? Okay, I think those would be, and to explore with them, go with staff or your
Can
recommendation.
you elaborate on the lighting and the,
Let's see.
It was
There's
the
this-
linear light
strip
at the,
light.
at the edge of the floor plate, they're showing a linear light.
Okay.
And so we're saying, can that have a reveal or some sort of,
A channel or something?
yeah,
to-
channel so that it's a shadow, so that we're not depending on seeing the light?
Oh, got it. Okay. To screen the actual light fixture itself.
Well,
To define the
not the
curve,
screen.
more to define the curve.
yeah, more so that, because I think
To
in a-
enhance the curve.
Yeah.
That's there.
if the light, if we're not perceiving the light, then there's a shadow line or something.
Thank you.
Got it.
Okay.
Did I technically make that motion?
I'll second that
Okay.
motion.
Motion. Second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Motion passes.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy holidays to you all.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Okay, is that?
Just one announcement for next year's calendar. I believe everybody should have received meeting invites for next year's meetings, and if not, we will make sure you receive some invites and a calendar. The meetings will be at a different time of the month. They will be on Thursdays, and I believe it's the second Thursday of the month. The reason for that is because the planning board will be moving to be the first of the 4 land use board meetings of the month, because the code does require in many situations that projects be considered by the planning board prior to being considered by the design review board or the historic preservation board. So this is in an effort to facilitate and streamline procedures for applicants so that they can get their project approved within the same month, because right now what happens is they have to go to the planning board at the end of the month and they can't go to the design review board until the following month.
Rogelio, not all projects go to planning and then to DRB, just
No,
some of them.
Some of the projects. It's
Some,
if they
yeah.
have a conditional use, which typically are the larger projects, or they're proposing a use that's impactful of some sort. On this agenda, there weren't no projects on this agenda had to go to the planning board. But on occasion, it happens and it slows them down. So it's an effort to streamline.
So the new meetings are now going to be the second Thursday of every month?
It's the second Thursday?
Thursday.
In most cases, it's the second Thursday. There's a few situations where we have a holiday or something and it has to be moved around.
Okay.
But generally, it's the second Thursday of the month.
Okay.
So we'll send out, if you haven't received a calendar or an Outlook invite, we'll send those out.
So then the next meeting is on the 16th of January.
16th of January.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you very much. I hope everybody
right.
has a happy holiday.
Thank you. Happy
See
holidays.
you
We
next
have lunch,
year.
by the way, in the back
Oh.
for everybody. So, thank you very much.